What's the most racist thing you've experienced at a predominantly white school?
Okay, so I went to a really white high school and it's orientation day and I'm a freshman. And we have upperclassmen volunteering for this day to kind of walk us through the whole process. And these two girls come up to me and they're like making small talk, like asking me what middle school I went to. Because the high school that I went to was like a feeder for all of these like private Catholic schools that I didn't go to. And then one of the girls asked me if I was Chinese and I was like, no, I'm not, I'm Korean. And then she goes, oh, like, are you adopted? And I was like, no, why? And she was like, oh, I didn't know Asians could afford the school. Basically saying that she didn't understand how Asian people could afford tuition if they weren't financially supported by white parents. And I was like, what the f-? Of course, the second girl chimes in and she goes, oh, I've been to China once. Yes, thank you for your input, Katie Rose Smith. Like, that has nothing to do with me.
What's the most racist thing you've experienced at a predominantly white school?
Oh, I could make this into a whole series. From the moment I showed up to this Caucasian high school, this principal had it out for me. First day of school, I'm just showing up. She pulls me into her office and she says, I don't know what y'all do where you come from, but we do things very differently here. Huh? Sends me over to take this exam that is mandatory for everyone transferring into her school. Lie. That is a lie. When I get there to take the exam, I pass with flying colors. The dude was like, why are you even here? He looked at my file and he was like, you shouldn't have even taken this test. I'm like, what you mean, sir? Like, this exam is for people who just came from like Mexico, Guatemala. They don't know how to speak English and they need to catch up. Bro, I was so confused. He was like, she should have never sent you this way and she knows better. This lady really sent me to go take an ESL test because I'm a person of color that was transferring over to her Caucasian high school. Just because I don't speak Caucasian English don't mean I don't speak English, ma'am.
People of color, what's the most racist thing you've experienced at a predominantly white school?
So I went to a school like 15 to 20 minutes out of town, like in the country. And there were two black kids at that school, me and a boy who just happened to be in my class. The boy never had any problems, and that's because the principal was also sexist. But one day I get called to the principal's office and he brings me in and he sits me down and he tells me, you can't come to school with your hair curly anymore. Your mom is going to come and pick you up and you are not allowed back at school until your hair is straight. And I was like, but this is just what my hair is like, sir. Imagine that, but like with snot in my nose and crying because authority scared the shit out of me. And so he goes, I don't care. Either you straighten your hair or you don't come back to school. He called my mom to pick me up, who was the head RN for a doctor's office, and she couldn't just leave. He wouldn't let me go back to class. So I sat in the principal's office for 3 hours. My mom comes in and he tells her what he told me. So she said she would call the school board for racial discrimination. Go mom.
What's the most racist thing you've experienced at a predominantly white school?
Not the most racist thing, but when I was around 10 years old, I used to live in Spain, and I was always the only black kid in the entire school. And one day, the director comes into my classroom, comes up to me and asks me to empty out my bag out of everything, and starts telling me that I've stolen a phone. You're not even allowed to bring phones to school because we're like freaking 9, 10. And I was like, I don't even own a phone, like, I don't know what you're talking about. And they were like, do you know so-and-so? And I was like, no. And they were like, well, she's lost her phone and you have it. And I was like, what? Literally asked me to take my shoes off, everything. Everybody else in class was just staring at me. Obviously, nobody else was made to open their bags or anything. And it was really crazy. Like, even my teacher was like, just give it to them. And I thought they were going to make me take my clothes off or something because they were so short. So I didn't finish this story because I thought nobody would care. But basically, I don't know if the phone was ever found because I didn't know the girl that lost it. Like, they told me a random name. I didn't know her. So I have no idea what happened with that. When they didn't find it on me, they just told my teacher, oh, tell us if it comes up. Tell us if she, like, admits to it. Basically, that's what they said. And they just left and they didn't say a word to me. They didn't even look at me. And yeah, basically I got an earful for disturbing the class and for not picking up my things fast enough because at this point there were like pencils on the floor. Like they really like went through my shit like really violently. And at this time I was living with the white side of my family because like my mom was traveling and they didn't care. Like there were worse things happening and like I was going through like physical abuse and things and they didn't care. So when I came up with the story, they were like, so?
People of color, what's the most racist thing you've experienced at a predominantly white school?
Boy, do I have a story to tell y'all. Let's just say that it happened at one of the two schools in Boerne, Texas. And if you know Boerne, you know that it's a very white town. Yeah. All I have to say is that it all starts off because my assistant principal and dress code. Yeah, I bet you know where this is going. But let me mind you, this school had nothing but white girls wearing Lululemon shorts up their asses and not getting in trouble for it because they're white. But I specifically remember that on like maybe the third week of school, I got in trouble because of a tube top, like a bodysuit tube top that I was wearing with a flannel with high-waisted jeans. And my assistant principal, Anyways, I'm gonna have to make part 2. So in my last video, I explained like what I was wearing and all. And before we get sent to our first period, we have to wait like in the front before the bell rings and all just to get sent to our first period, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So my backpack was on the floor and I bend over to grab my backpack. And of course, my flannel like drapes over, like falls off of my shoulder a little bit, right? My assistant principal that was nowhere to be seen just comes out of nowhere. And she comes up to me and goes, "You need to go change." And I was like, looking around like, me? And she looks at me and she goes, "You can't wear tube tops like that. You have to have some kind of strap." And I was like, "I'm covered though. Like, what's the problem?" And of course she goes, "If you're gonna have attitude, you're gonna have to go to the office so you can go change." And of course I said, let's go. So I walk my happy ass to the office and I get in there and the lady's like, "Okay, just sign in right here. You need to sign in, blah, blah, blah." So I put in my name, my number, blah, 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 whatever. And she grabs a pile of used clothes. These clothes are from other people, mixed in with like other school shirts. She goes, "You can pick from one of these so you can change your shirt." And I go, "I'm not wearing any of those." And she looks at me and she goes, "Well, if you don't pick one, then we're going to have to call your mom." And I said, Call her. I bet she'd be so happy to be brought to the school because of this stupid situation." So they call my mom and I grab one of the fucking shirts and I go to the bathroom and I call my mom myself and I'm like, "We got some shit to do." And she's like, "Yes, we do." When it comes to situations like that, my mom does not play around. Like, my mom is always there for me. So when I told her and about like my side of the story, my mom was like, "Yeah, no, I'll be there in a second." So my mom was there in like seconds at my school. And she talks to the people and my mom's like, "We'll just talk about it later when we get home." And I'm like, "Okay, whatever." So at that time, we just let that incident slide by because, I mean, it wasn't really anything serious, but, I mean, it still ticked my mom and I off because, I mean, you still have these girls still wearing these shorts up their asses, right? Well, a couple weeks later, I wear a spaghetti strap shirt with this cardigan, and I made sure that my backpack was, like, on me, like, on my shoulders to where my cardigan wouldn't fall off or anything. My shoulders wouldn't be seen, right? My assistant principal walked around everywhere where I went and she called me out and she goes, "Can I see what you're wearing?" I'm not even fucking joking. I really wish I kept the pictures that I took of her like following me around. Like, I had one picture where I was standing like in this hallway at the corner and she just comes walking and she stands right like in front of me but like a little far away. And I had another picture where I'm upstairs and she's upstairs too, right across from me. When she caught me the second time and asked what I was wearing, I literally just wanted to explode right there. But I pulled my cardigan over and I showed her and I was like, "I have straps on this time, so what's the problem?" And she goes, "You can't wear that either." When I tell you that I just went ahead and I walked to the bathroom and I called my mom crying because I was so frustrated. I was like, "You need to get down here at this school right now before I just fucking go off on everyone." My mom just hangs up because she already knew what was going on. So she was like, "I'll be there." Hangs up and is on her way to the school. Okay, part 6, whatever, I don't know. My mom is on her way to the school after I just called her and she's like, "You wait right there because when I get there, we're both going into her office and we're talking to her." And I'm like, yes, ma'am. My mom stormed through that damn front office door, and it kind of scared me. But she walked in and she talks to the front office lady, and she goes, I need to speak to my daughter's assistant principal. And the lady was like, what's your daughter's last name? And my mom goes, Dominguez. And she was like, okay, with a D. Okay, let me get a hold of her principal, whatever. And my mom's like, we need to speak to her now. And she was like, yes, ma'am. While my mom and I are sitting in the office, they have glass windows, so we can see her just standing out in the front, just talking to the other principals. Like, you have a serious meeting that's about to go down. If I were you, I'd get your ass over here right now. So she finally starts walking. I'm gonna have to make another part. We see my assistant principal walking to the front office, and my mom's like, all right, let's go. So me and her both stand up, and she walks in, my assistant principal. She walks in, and she goes, hi, Miss Rodriguez. And my mom goes, I stood there in the back like, my mom goes, what did you say? And she goes, Miss Dominguez, I'm so sorry. My mom looks at her and goes, so you expect that every Mexican you come across, you just expect that their last name is Rodriguez because it's a Mexican last name? Ooh, when I tell you that this bitch's face got so fucking red, yeah. She looked like a goddamn tomato. I was like, oh, wow, my mom's about to rip this bitch's ass. My mom, being a queen, my mom was the one who walked her to her goddamn office. My mom said, let's go, show me. Sorry if I'm like whispering. My boyfriend's taking a nap and I don't want to wake him. So to finish the story, my mom walks my assistant principal to her own office. And my mom's like, unlock this door now, so we can get to business, so like we can talk. So while we're in there, I'm not gonna get into detail like what we talked about because it was a lot of like arguing and crying and shit because I was just so frustrated. My mom was frustrated. Like this had to do with racism, and my assistant principal was basically the whole time like, no, I'm not racist. Like I have colored people in my family. Like, shut the fuck up. But my mom did tell her if she were to pick on me again, my mom will sue the school. Because my mom did get a hold of the head board of the school, whatever. I don't know. My mom did a lot of calling and talking and arguing. So she never bothered me after that whole incident with my mom. Also, here's another story about the lady who took my senior portraits. So I'm sitting down, right? And I'm getting ready to take my first picture. Comes out really cute. Very, very cute, right? I'll show the pictures at the end. Getting ready for my second shoot, I'm fixing my hair and my necklace. And she's like, no, leave it. You look fine. So me, just being nice, I'm like, oh, okay, like, thank you, whatever. Takes a picture and boy, I was very pissed off about the end result. Because, I mean, it may not look different to y'all, but obviously it's very different to me. Because, I mean, they're my pictures. So here's the first one. Cute, very cute. And here's the second one with my fucked up necklace and my fucked up hair. And you can see that piece of hair too that she didn't bother letting me fix. But yet, the girls after me, she was letting them fix their hair and everything and fixing themselves because they were whites.
What's the most inappropriate thing a therapist has ever said to you?
It's more of what she did than what she said. This lady forces me to come out to my transphobic father as trans in front of her, leading to my father calling me gross and he say that he'd rather me be a lesbian than trans. And then here I am fucking having a mental breakdown while my therapist is forcing me to talk to my father about things I don't want to talk to him about. Yeah, that led to me not going to her anymore.
What's an opinion you have that might piss some people off?
If you are like consistently late and make it a part of your personality, like, oh, you should know that I'm always late, you're rude, you're selfish, and all you're doing is telling everyone else that you don't give a shit about their time. And the only person that matters is you. Grow up.